So I said in the next video I would talk about why wanting your house price to go up is sort of a delusion, and it's to me it's pretty obvious, and it's back to my old adage that all prices or values are relative, and I mean they're relative to what else they could buy, what else they're worth. It's all about comparative values if you want to understand whether or not something you're holding on to is worth more or has more value. Again, I keep doing that, and I keep doing that with those two words because worth and value both mean the same thing in finance. They mean equal to. The question is equal to what? If you're saying equal to X amount of dollars, then that's where the delusion begins. A dollar is not a standard for measurement. It is an idea. Right now, you might say, well, my house is worth $2 million. And why do you say that? Well, because one's in the neighborhood sold for that much. And okay, granted, probably pretty close to the truth. But that could change next year or next month or next week to a different number. It's still the same house. It still has the same number of square feet and the number of bedrooms. That's all that really matters. The value in the house is its ability to hold people and comfortably, right? You don't want to cram 100 people into a 1,000 square foot house. That's not, it doesn't produce that much value. It produces enough for 4 or 5 or 6 people. And so the house itself and its square feet are the real value in it. And its true value to us as humans is to keep us warm, healthy, and dry, right? And protected from invaders or wild animals or whatever you want, if you want to get silly about it. But they're all really true reasons that we kind of take for granted and have forgotten. So the value of a house is not in its dollars. Dollars are simply a flexible, temporary measurement to compare the value of something to something else. So you started out with your house at $1 million and now it's worth $2 million. You're all excited for that. Therein lies the delusion. If you wanted to move to another home, which is what the dollars in the home you're currently in should be for, unless you're a damn fool and want to spend them on, something stupid, the dollars that you've earned up to put into your home should be transferable to the next home, which you're now just paying more for, right? Plus the increase in your land taxes and everything else associated with it. You don't think that when your home goes from $1 million to $2 million, that the cost of carpentry, plumbing, HVAC, repairs, maintenance, handyman services don't go up according. You don't think that they're going to want a piece of that increasing price action? Of course they will. Try to hire a good carpenter or a plumber or a contractor right now. If you can get somebody for under $100 an hour all in, you're doing well. When did that change? So these are all like reasons you don't like. I know the thought process people have is I'm going to buy my house at a low price, I'm going to sell it at a high price, I'm going to have more dollars later on to buy more things. But housing doesn't go up in a vacuum. Yeah, and sometimes you end up with an arbitrage that housing in a bubble will go up faster than other commodities. And so you'd be able to buy a few more of these commodities with the price of your house when you sold it. But generally, they don't move. Things that are real don't move that far apart from each other. They move far apart from currency because currency constantly loses value and sends a skewed perception of what your home is worth, equal to. If we get away from making it equal to dollars and we measure it against something else of substance like gold, what you're going to find out is that in Canada right now, on average, housing has lost 50% relative to gold. Now, gold didn't even have to go up in price for that to happen because real estate is losing price and gold is not. So now, if you were holding gold, you could trade that for more real estate, right? So now we're measuring houses in gold. It's not looking so rosy. How did your house that's worth more, worth meaning equal to dollars, now suddenly when you put something else on the other side of that ledger instead of dollars, you start to see the relative values have changed. And I believe that trend's going to continue, but that's not the point. The point is that measuring in dollars is a delusion. Wanting your house to go up in price is a delusion to have more dollars for retirement, because all the things that you would buy in retirement will generally trend up with the home. And so you'll be paying, if you could trade your home for 1,000 coconuts at $500,000, you're probably going to trade it for 1,000 coconuts at 1 million or 2 million, because the coconuts will generally go up in price with the house. Most things, real things, unless there's a shortage or a surplus of them, which, shortages and surpluses tend to work themselves out. If there's a shortage of a real good in the market, people will notice that. Business minded people will start to decide to get into that industry because there's a market there, there's a demand for it. If you get a glut of something in the market, generally you'll see businesses go away and stop producing and selling a certain thing. So they're sort of self-regulating. So if you get too many coconuts, too many houses, yeah, can you get an arbitrage between coconuts and houses, or another food commodity and houses? Sure, you can, but it'll never get as distorted as the numbers measured in dollars will, in my opinion. And this is the nature of bubbles. They obscure reality and cause you to have an improper perspective about what things are worth. Remember, what worth is means equal to. Now, you can take the thing and put an equal sign in between it and put whatever you want to measure it on this side of the ledger. But as soon as you put dollars in there, which is most people's standard reaction, what's worth a certain amount of dollars? Is that the only thing it's equal to? If you put something else in there, like gold, that's also measured in dollars, now you're using the dollars to simply compare two real things. A big difference between comparing the measuring tool over here in dollars and a real thing. Right? Real things tend to generally stay in a balance because of market forces. If there's not enough houses, people will build houses because there's now a profit, because there's a demand. More demand means the price will go up, but it will not, in my opinion, ever go up in a distorted way as much as looking at that single thing in a vacuum. I've just proved it with gold. Gold is going up faster, and housing is losing. So now that worth statement, when you put gold or silver or something else on the other side, put Bitcoin on there. If you really want to see something, your house is worth how many Bitcoin or how many Satoshis, you'll get a completely different number, because housing is going up at this rate or going slightly down, and Bitcoin is going up at this rate. And so it's gaining a lot faster. And so that's going to create an arbitrage where the Bitcoin will be worth more housing. Be careful how we use words. Value and worth mean equal to, for all intent and purpose inside of finance. And I know that sounds overly simplistic. There's probably people out there that think, is this guy crazy? I really do believe there's some people probably think I'm a little nuts and unhinged because I keep insisting on pounding on this whole dollar thing. It's like, give it up already, Tom. Like, you're just hammering on this dollar thing. What are you, a lunatic? No, I'm trying to repeat the same thing until you get it, because I know how hard it was for me to get my head around this. And when I first heard somebody actually mention this concept, they talked about 4 words. They said, go home and look up in an etymological dictionary these 4 words: money, dollar, worth, and value. And so I did that. I got home and I looked up those in an etymological dictionary, and he did some explanation of what they meant. And I confirmed that, and that completely changed my thinking about what we're actually looking at when you measure the financial world. And this is all about how we measure things, because as individuals, we are restricted by our inability to take this value proposition, look at what things are worth, measure them using the dollar temporarily, and then look at changes over time and understand what assets we should be holding, which are worth the most or the least at a given time, so that we can change asset allocations to take advantage of this messed up way of counting, this messed up way of measuring things. And we can move forward and end up with more of the things that we need in life. We all need food, shelter, protection, achievement, basic things. And all of those things, because we do not provide all of those for ourselves directly from the land, we now specialize and we purchase those things from specialists. We need that medium of exchange, dollars, which, as a consequence of the way it works, doesn't measure the value of these things properly and causes us a distortion in our perception. So we need to get past this distortion in perception in order to really understand what we're holding and whether it's going to give us back more of the things we need later. Buying an asset is a temporary way to store wealth. I'm going to talk about wealth and why in the next video, about why silver and gold are wealth and they can't make you wealthy. That'll be the next topic, and there'll be a repetition of some of these ideas in there. And I know some of you are probably thinking I'm a loon, and maybe some of you that aren't thinking I'm a loon are getting bored of this topic. But trust me, if the lights haven't come on and you had an aha moment where you just slam your hands on the table and go, "Oh my God, I think I get it now," then you maybe aren't there yet. So I'll keep talking, keep chattering about this until it sinks in. Wanting your house to go up in price is a delusion. It just costs more in taxes. It prices your own children and your progeny out of the market eventually. Wages are simply not keeping up. You can listen to the people complaining out there that they feel that the dream of home ownership is lost, which is a real sad state because that has other consequences. People's dreams being stolen from them have other ongoing consequences that if we don't correct this, we're going to see some of these consequences soon if we haven't already. Some of you may be experiencing those consequences. Breakdown of society can result of these kind of things, and so there are knock-on effects that are undesirable. So it's important that we, as I said in an earlier video, um, about currency being also votes, like a $20 bill is 20 votes and a $50 is 50 votes. If you vote for higher prices by continuing to engage in buying homes, and I know I get it, it's just one of the other side of the argument is that we're stuck with certain things we have to keep voting for with our dollars. We need housing, but we need to start somewhere to turn this around, and our individual choices do matter. Sometimes just taking the high road and saying, I'm just not willing to do that. I'm not willing to pay that much for something. Somewhere the system has to turn around, and house prices have to become affordable for the new generation to buy them. Or who are we going to sell all these houses we built for ourselves to? That's another part of the delusion. In a grand overview, we have all these houses, these big beautiful houses that probably are not suitable for the next generation. They don't have the same dreams we do, and they're not even going to want to try to afford some of these houses. So who is going to buy them, right? And so you literally build up a system where it's dysfunctional because you've created a framework that nobody wants the framework anymore. So these are individual choices. Maybe don't build such a large house. Don't buy as much house as you do just because you think it's an investment and that investment's going to grow into this, larger dollar value delusion, that simply won't buy any more real goods than it did before when it was a lower price. These are all things that our individual actions do have a bearing on. I know that each person, the contribution doesn't seem that big. And granted, if you're stuck and you have to have a home and it's overpriced and you've got the dollars, I get it. Sometimes in order to have a place to live, we got to do what we got to do. So, do I have an absolute answer for this? No, I don't. No individual person, I think, does have an answer for this problem that we have with housing, and why I keep hammering on this idea. But going forward, those of you who haven't entered into that market maybe can take some of these ideas and words and ideas from others that are similar and start to construct choices that won't and land your generation in the same boat later on. So that's all I have to say on that, folks. So leave it at that. And the next conversation, as I say, will be about. Now I forgot what it was about. Anyway, I said it before. I don't have to repeat it. On to the next conversation. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.